Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining me again, everybody. And if this is your first time here, hey, check out this blind flight, see if it fits your vibe. Maybe you become a long-term friend with us here. But for today's episode, what we're going to do is a blind flight. I've got 4 bottles of double oaked or toasted ryes. I found 3 different bottles that I wanted to compare to the Peerless Double Oak Rye that I just did a review on. I want to see how it lives up in a blind flight. I was a bit torn throughout that entire review, all over the place on the experience. I love the finish, but ultimately just didn't feel that it represented Peerless as well as I know other bottles had, and that $115 price scared me off. But we're going to put it against things that are both, at least MSRP, similar in price and similar in proof. One of the bottles might be a little outgunned, but hey, it might win the whole thing. That's the whole point of doing a blind flight. So we'll go through all the bottles in the flight in just a moment, but for now, hey, let's kick off the show. All right. So as I mentioned off the top, we got 4 bottles in this blind flight. All of them are double oaked or toasted ryes. The first one here is the double oaked Peerless. You can see I've gone through quite a bit of this now. I mean, I'm just all over the place on this one. This one was one of the batches. I know there's some single barrels I've been hearing are going around there, but this is a batch one, and it was 110 proof, $115. Next up, and this is probably the most accessible of all the bottles that'll be in the flight, the Sagamore Double Oaked. I had to include this one. This one I know is just a kind of a standard somewhat with this double oak. Everyone loves this one, but it is a little outgunned. It's only 98.6 proof. No, 96.6 proof. Whew, even worse than I thought. So that might affect it. So we will see. Now, this one, everyone might not have heard this one. I could have used a couple different bottles for this example. I picked this bottle in particular because I think it is the most fair comparison. And it's the Down Home Toasted Barrel Finish Rye. This one was batch 1. It's 112 proof. And this ran me about $80. And this one too, when it's available, is usually Kentucky area. I don't know if Down Home has a distribution beyond Kentucky, but that's for context. But the other bottle that I could have put in this flight would have been a Nulu toasted rye. I've got a 5-year and a 6-year, but both of them are like 120 proof, and I didn't want this to be a proof battle. So I ended up choosing this one to get the toasted MGP in this flight, but keep it parallel. And then the last one, if anything, you either got to beat the king or let's see if the emperor's wearing clothes on this. But Michter's toasted rye. I got this one. Actually, I was pretty surprised. This one's actually from 2018 at this point. Gosh darn. That's how long it takes me to get through a bottle of whiskey, by the way. Some of these things are 5 years old at this point. Now, if they do get low enough, I do tend to transfer them all to sample bottles and store those away somewhere else, but that'll be for a future video. But we do got the Michter's toasted rye in here, and that'll be another interesting comparison. So got a couple different things going on. I want to see what happens to the Peerless in this blind flight. I want to see where that toasted MGP falls, because man, do I love that. We'll see what this does and the Sagamore does too. I think it's all interesting comparisons to see who comes out on top of this one. I'm also extra excited about this blind flight because a lot of the times no one else is home and I got to pour them myself, and I just mix them up and I try to think about something else and then I mix them up again. I actually got someone to pour this for me, so this is double blind. Well, not double blind because I guess I know the bottles, but you get the point. So we're going to go through all the letters. I got A through D in front of me. I got them in my nice little labeled Glens. So here's glass A. We're going to go through the noses, then go through the tastes, and then I'll put an order together. And I'm just as interested to see where this shakes out as hopefully you are. So thanks for sticking with me, everybody. let's kick off this flight. Cheers. Oh man, this one's nice. Reminds me of a cinnamon roll with some nice frosting right off the top. Getting a little bit of a orange marmalade almost. And then the breadier aspects are coming through more and more with that cinnamon roll. Hmm. Maybe a slight hint of a cherry or raspberry. That's a little too high. Not pomegranate, but something in that range. I like that nose though. It was good. Oh, geez. This one's dark. Dark and maple by comparison. Gosh, the this one just feels like it's got more age than the other ones or was toasted longer, but it's just got a deep, heavy, dark oak note. A little bit of pretzel coming through and maybe some caramel. Okay. It's good to see. Ooh, left field. That's totally different. Man, I'm trying to blind these. This gives me hints of the toasted the macaroon, the coconut macaroon. I did give that note on the Peerless. Not to say that C is Peerless or not, I do not know. But, my mind did go to it, whereas the other two, maybe I was leaning a certain way, but it didn't like connect the dots as quickly as this one did. Though that could be recency bias, as I am right. I will say C is flatter on the nose than the first two. All right, D's got a different approach too. A and B had a little bit of similarities with the doughy notes. B was a bit darker. A is kind of the most dynamic right now. D, I would say, is more of a stereotypical rye. Yeah, a lot of eucalyptus, maybe a slight hint of dill, and it is. I've been getting more hints of dill lately, which is actually exciting because I wasn't getting that flavor for a little bit, but I've been throwing that out a little bit more. Kind of a sweet cream frosting again. Doesn't come with the cinnamon roll, but it does have the frosting. Yeah, then just some apple there. So we've got four different noses on this one. I would say, based on that, I'm gonna write down my ranking for the nose, but I will mostly count the taste when it comes to actually ordering these. But I'm curious on the nose. How would it go through A and B? Oh yeah, it's just got that cinnamon roll. Honestly, A reminds me a lot of Angel's Envy off memory, but that's not even in the flight. Man, and B, gosh, those dark notes on B kind of distinguish it. I'm trying to think of which one I enjoy more. I think I'm going to go with BA, DC. B gets it because of that heavy oak, the richness, and I think there's some depth there that I could even sit here and pull apart even more. But man, I'm really drawn to the oak of B. C is going to come in last. I find the nose mostly flat. It really does have a nice note, but and I guess a toasted coconut macaroon's technically a combination of notes, but it comes through so singularly that it just kind of hits you and that's it. It's just like you just like open the box and that was it. Hmm. All right. Now let's get into the taste here. I'm excited to taste these. I'm going to get a quick drink of water here and let's go through the tasting. All right. Going to start with A. Cheers again for everyone still hanging with me. Hmm. Oh man. Oh, A is good. Oh, A is real good. Mm. Uh, Mouthfeel off the start really stuck out. Man, it was, gosh, creamy is almost the word. Almost uh, a heavy cream. If you whipped it for a little bit and gave it a little bit of heft and texture, it was like that. I wouldn't say it was oily, but it was creamy and dense. The flavors come in, man. The rye spice hits mid palate and really hangs on for the finish. The rye spice on this one is awesome. Nice vanillas, again with a sweet cream note, like a sweet cream frosting note. Mm. There is just a hint of a raspberry at the end of that thing. And the finish really goes on. Now there's some chocolate emerging too. Mm. A is a good pour. Man. Let's get into B here. But man, that A, that was bringing it. Oh gosh, yeah. B's really good too. Mm. Man, tell you what, these ryes tonight are really kicking. Or my palate is just going nuts tonight, but I am just getting flavors for days on this. Let me sip this one more time and articulate a bit. Once again, really like the mouthfeel on this one. Creamy again, not oily, but creamy. I would say it is thinner than the first one though, but still had that creamy, nice density to it. Mm. All vanillas up front. The rye really kicks in on the finish, but it didn't show up till the finish. Mostly chocolate notes, mid palate. Now I'm getting lots of apple, cinnamon apple, really baking spices overall, even in some nutmeg. It leans more towards the spices than kind of the sweeter flavors of A. And that oak note on the nose really does shine through, especially compared to A as well. And B is still going on the finish in my mouth right now. Oh man, I'm still getting the rye spice and the cinnamon and the nutmeg. Hmm. Gosh darn. This is gonna be tough. All right, let's go to C here. Hmm. I'm gonna be surprised to see it's not the Peerless, the way that it moves. Um, it did feel creamier this time around, whether that's the influence, everything else I've been drinking. Hmm. I'd still say the thinnest of the three. Oh, that finish, man! And there's what I want to call that toasted coconut macaroon note again. I just keep hovering around that. So what this one does in comparison to the other ones, it gives a little bit of the cinnamon up front, and then when you swallow and you're expecting it to give you flavor, it mutes a little bit, and then it gives you a little flavor, which was like an orange note, and then it goes into the finish. But when it hits the finish, it rocks. I mean, especially now since I just had a couple sips back to back there, it's building and it is great. Um Man, all three of these have a very good finish. I might have to rank the finishes. That might have to be something that I do on this one. Um, just because, in case I am right, I'm just curious. Maybe I'm going too deep onto C. Part of me hopes I'm wrong, by the way. All right, let's do D here. I still think this is a race between A and B, just like it was on the nose. But let's see if D can come through. Hmm. D's good, but it's not. It's escalating a little bit there. It's not holding up on this flight. Doesn't really give any flavor up front now. Could be at a disadvantage being at the end of this flight. I'll work my way through one more time, but doesn't give a whole lot of flavor up front, and it's kind of mellow throughout the experience. Um, I'm pretty sure that's the down home. I mean, it just tastes like an MGP rye. The uh, the toasted part I do really like. You do get that cast. It adds a level of sweetness to it. Um, it does go more towards a toasted marshmallow kind of note versus what's happening on the other three. I guess the toasted coconut macaroon is kind of in that area because some people say toasted coconut rather than toasted marshmallow. But D D's not. I don't think D's in contention here. I think D actually is probably going to be in last, but I will give each of these one more sip. I really need to narrow in on A and B, and then we'll do a reveal and see what wins this thing. Hmm. Yeah, I kind of got a nice fruit punch, uh, bubblegum, juicy fruit kind of note up front there. That was kind of interesting. I didn't get that on the first round. Nice white pepper on the back end, but this one does not have a big flavor punch like the other three do. Um, the most consistent experiences are A and B. The finish on C is pretty fabulous, but what happens the first two thirds doesn't stand up to the overall experience of the first two thus far. And D's not giving me anything to grapple on right now. So poor D is lingering. Sorry, buddy. All right, let's go back to C. Nose hasn't changed on C. Yeah, then you just get that same thing on the finish. There's some berries coming through on C now too. There's some good berry notes on top of that toasted coconut macaroon. Hmm. Even getting a little like buttery now. It's making me salivate, which is kind of fun. Hmm. It's a good pour. All right, gonna go back to B. I think this is still a race between B and A. I think C is in third. Man, the extra layer of oak and there's this perfect maple syrup note on the nose of B. Hmm. Lovely vanilla up front, chocolate mid palate, spicy finish. Gosh, that one's good. I think she might have poured these in the order that they're going to fall in. I think it might be A, B, C, D. Mm, man, No, A is fabulous. A fires on all cylinders everywhere. When I am starting to get the raspberry notes, even a little cherry note, that's real interesting. I love the cinnamon roll with the sweet cream. Oh man, bit of white pepper on this one too. Oh, I'm gonna do one more sip of A. A is the winner. Oh, that is fun. All right, I'm gonna go A, B, C, D. And man, if I had to grade just the finish, I would flip flop C and B. So just the finish would still go A, C, B, D. All right. So just to recap, B won the nose, A was in second. A takes the taste and the finish. B and C kind of flip flop. B on the taste, C on the finish. If I'm just narrowing in on purely the finish part of it. But B is a more well-rounded experience. But that's the order. Let's see what I was drinking, everybody. All right. Oh man. Whew, I had D wrong. All right, let's see. Yeah, you can see that. So the down home took it. Oh man, I had the down home peg for D. I thought D, man, I guess D didn't have the proof and it was getting out punched. It just didn't have the flavors to live up to this thing. C was the Peerless and B was the Michters. So, okay. So the down home won this thing. I honestly thought B was the Michters. I thought B was the Sagamore. But no, D was the Sagamore. So the Sagamore did get a bit outpunched. I bet you that was the proof there. Peerless was in third. And then I was flip flopping between the down home and the Michters that entire time. I actually thought A was the Michters and D was the down home and B was the double oak Sagamore in my head because I didn't expect that dark of a oak note on the Michters. I don't remember it being that dark. Man, A really brought it. A almost had a clean sweep there. Now, for comparison purposes, though, I keep saying I like the finish on the Peerless. I put the Peerless finish over the Michters. It's just the rest of the experience that I wasn't digging too much from the nose front of the palate to what it was doing right until the edge of the finish. And that's where that thing was held back. Well, heck yeah. So I opened the down home specifically for this flight. This was also a neck pour of the thing, but I didn't want to use the Nulus because I was afraid I was going to put it to an unfair advantage. I loved this down home when it came out. It's been about 2 years since I tried this particular batch. When I bought it, I had this one bunkered, but there's always a time and a place to open a bottle, and this comparison was the time and place to do so, and I am so glad that I did. So, the winner of today's flight, batch 1 of the down home toasted barrel finish. Man, beat the Michters. That's pretty impressive, actually. I didn't see that coming. All right. Well, once again, I think that just kind of confirms my thoughts on what I felt about this batch of the Peerless Rye. I want to try a different batch of the Double Oak here. People are getting different experiences, and I knew that was going to happen. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you've ever had this down home, if you've had batch 1. I think batch 2 is out, what's on the shelves now. It might even be batch 3 at this point. But man, batch 1 was really, really good. All right. Well, thank you for joining me for today's blind flight, everybody. I'll catch you later. Goodbye, whiskey friends.